Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Trinidadi, and let's queer up the USA view. Pride wins as Dupont Circle stays open for WorldPride after LGBTQ pushback. Hotspots Happening Out has a large group in Washington for WorldPride. The LGBTQ+ community is celebrating a major win just days before WorldPride descends on Washington, D.C. On Tuesday morning, D.C. Councilmember Zachary Parker announced that the National Park Service has rescinded its controversial plan to close Dupont Circle Park during the main Pride weekend. He wrote on Twitter, quote, "The park is central to the LGBTQ community and neighbors will be able to enjoy it this year for WorldPride." Just a day earlier, the Park Service had said it would fence off the park from Thursday to Monday, citing $175,000 in vandalism from 2023 and a formal request from D.C. police. The backlash was immediate, with queer leaders calling the closure a symbolic slap in the face during an international celebration of queer visibility. That pushback worked, and on Tuesday, Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela Smith officially withdrew her request to close the park. A department spokesperson told The Advocate, quote, "Chief Pamela Smith has heard from community members and understands how significant Dupont Circle Park is to the Pride celebration," end quote. Meanwhile, watchdog group PCJF has filed Freedom of Information Act requests demanding transparency. Their executive director, Mara Verheyden-Hilliard, said, quote, "The threatened removal of public space from the public's use, notably in relation to LGBTQ+ pride and in apparent service to Trump's agenda, is a dangerous step and outside the legitimate authority of the Park Service," end quote. For now, though, the heart of DC's LGBTQ+ community remains open, and Pride is back at Dupont Circle. Major events at DC's WorldPride begin tomorrow and run through the weekend. You know, it's hard sometimes to determine what is political maneuvering and what is actually true, right? And in this, I used to give the benefit of the doubt a little bit more in previous administrations, but it's pretty clear that messages are being sent from the top that you need to close this under the guise of something else. Oh, you know, they vandalized something 2 years ago, so, you know, we just have to close it for this gay event that you guys are doing. But, you know, was it open last week? Was it open the week before? What about this is a little bit different than the others, right? So, Pamela, you know, I'm not sure what kind of game you're running and who told you what to do, and maybe if you feel fear of retribution, but that fear or that Transparency Act, you know, I'm hoping that we actually get to the bottom of this and that people who are fearful of maybe the Trump agenda and Trump appointees will also be fearful of the backlash that they're going to get from the other people, the other side of things, when it goes public and everything is transparent. So it's my hope for everybody who's in that position of feeling like they're being bullied to do something. Just remember, there's backlash on the other side of things too.
Well, you know, this is what queer resistance looks like, right? This is a win, you know what I mean? Like when the Park Service tried to fence off Dupont Circle, the heart of DC Pride, basically, the LGBTQ+ community didn't flinch. We pushed back and we won. You know, at the end of the day, Pride isn't just a party. It's a protest. It's a presence. It's a freaking promise. And WorldPride is going to kick off regardless. All right. We're going to have our park to do our event in, and you can't silence us. That's it.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said, you know, in a previous segment about, you know, Pride going back to kind of its roots. I think maybe for the past few years after gay marriage was passed, we kind of maybe rested a little bit too easy on our laurels about what Pride is and becoming very commercial, and just remembering it's always a struggle.
Yeah.
There's always something going on that's threatening to tear us down because we're just a smaller percentage of the population. And if you let it go unchecked, that majority group can just cannibalize us within our own country. So we always have to be vigilant about that. And yeah, I have been ignited in a different way being a queer male, that I always need to be more vigilant about that and to speak up when I can.
And maybe this is where we decommercialize Pride and just make it, you know, a festival again and a party and a celebration.
I mean, something like that, it doesn't sound too far-fetched, Will. It doesn't. Jason, I mean, you put a bunch of these events together, you know what I mean? Is that the key to go back to where we started, to go back to our grassroots?
It is. And like I mentioned earlier, like pride is a feeling. Pride is what it means to you. It's an educational part. It's the historical part. It's what it stood for. It's that commercialism is kind of, we let it, but because let's be real, it brought in the dollars.
Right.
It brought in the dollars. It made us have that much better of an event. But pride could be a picnic with the 5 of us kikiing over.
It's true.
Like, let's go have a barbecue and we can have a pride event.
If you ever, because, people have been bringing up, why do you still need pride? If there's ever a moment where you're with your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it is, and you feel that hesitation about holding their hand in a space, that's what it's about.
That's why we need pride.
That's why we need it.
Just like Jason said, that pride saved his life, right? I mean, that feeling of camaraderie, when you go to Pride and you see people who just love each other, kissing, holding each other, right? Without anybody looking at them weird. And you're like, I'm part of this community. I can do the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like you said, we're a much smaller community in comparison to the rest. And like, the straight world is the straight world. We live in the straight world. So we need our pride spaces because we need our gay spaces, just like we need our events. It's where we can be us, truly, authentically.
Can I ask do any of you still feel, I mean, you're more out figures in the community. Do any of you still feel at any time in public or that you have that feeling of maybe I don't want to hold
100%. Yeah, even more so after January.
From my car to the gig sometimes.
In drag?
When I do gathering on Wednesdays and I park, I can't park right in front of the venue because it's already filled up.
Yeah.
And I got to park like a block away. I'm like, I got to choose to be brave. I got to get out this car, looking the way I look, because I'm not taking this off just to repaint. I have work to go to, and everyone should respect that. And I got to carry that with me, grab my garb, put the wig on, and walk to the gig. And no matter what kind of looks I get, I have to walk confidently. Because if they see me looking scared, they're going to know, okay, they know this isn't right, so I can tell them this isn't right. No, I got to be confident in that. So that's another reason we have pride. When you go to a queer event, and then you call the Uber to go home, and you're like, you don't know if this Uber is going to pull up, see me in my short shorts and my crop top, and cancel the ride. That's why we have pride.
Yep.
For those instances alone, where we are out in spaces where we don't feel like we have numbers on our side, but we still choose to be brave every single day because we have to. That's why we have pride. Pride is to be proud of yourself. We are very proud to be who we are. We're not all on the same level of that. Some people started way younger. Some people started doing it more recently. But we're all working for the same journey. And that's to be proud of ourselves and to be brave in doing so.
And also that you're not alone. There's a bunch of us out there to help you out.
And in Miami, just to say, because you guys are probably some of the most outspoken, like carrying that flag for, the whole community, and for you all to feel that way at times. And in a city which Miami and Wilton and this whole South Florida area is generally a bit more accepting of the LGBTQ community.
And there's more of us. There's more of us down here than in other places.
And I remember maybe 5 years ago, I just remember I needed to be more out because I always kind of kept my identity a little bit more on the down list, nobody's business. But I remember like some kids that I heard in like some town in Mississippi that are like looking for somebody to say that there's hope, to like give them some kind of hope. And so we have to carry that flag, if you feel that in your heart for all those other people. That's for me what pride is about.
Amen. I love that, Trini. And that is the big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.